What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so in this video, I want to continue my pro basketball all-time top 10 point guards list. At number 10, the other day I had Steve Nash. So at number 9, I have Jason Kidd. Now, that might sound a little bit low to you guys, but as you see my list, you'll see that it's actually pretty accurate. You know what I'm saying? This quote right here is attributed to Jason Kidd, and with recent events, it's very, very relevant today. Championship teams are built on being prepared, playing unselfishly, and being held accountable. I remember there was an All-Star game. I can't remember whether it was 2002 or 2003. It was one of the two. I want to say it was 2003. And Michael Jordan was with the Washington Wizards, and Jordan had made some shot, and he was celebrating, which is a little bit uncharacteristic of him, but he was celebrating. And I remember Jason Kidd got on Jordan to get back on defense. And Jordan did, you know what I'm saying, after being chided. And I remember the commentators were being like, wow, you don't usually see someone call out Michael Jordan. But that's Jason Kidd. He believed that everybody should be held accountable on the court, including himself. Jason Kidd was a hard worker. Jason Kidd worked on whatever weaknesses he had. The one glaring weakness he had was that he couldn't shoot, and that was the one knock on him, was that he was not a great shooter. He frequently shot in the low 40s, sometimes in the upper 30 percentile as far as his field goes. He was not a good shooter. He got a little better as he got older, but the one thing he did get better on was shooting threes. Interestingly enough, I believe when he retired, which I think was 2013, when he retired, he was actually, I think, in the top, at the time, top 3 or 4 in three-point field goals made. And for his career, he shot a respectable 35% from three, which is not that bad considering how bad a shooter he was. But Jason Kidd, as a point guard, in my opinion, as great as Rondo is in the top 30 years, Jason Kidd is still the best in this post-Magic and post-Stockton era, or if not including Stockton, I guess. In the last 30 years, Jason Kidd is the best pure passing and high IQ floor general I've seen. Yes, he didn't average as many assists as Steve Nash, but that's a little bit because of the pace that the Nets and some of those other teams he played on. And, the offense, scoring, pace, era, a lot of that has to do with it, you know what I'm saying? But, Jason Kidd was not like the high-scoring point guards we have today. He was a traditional pass-first point guard whose role was to basically, and you hear this so often today, but it really was true with Jason Kidd. He made others around him better. Jason Kidd didn't just pass the ball and rebound to pad his numbers. Jason Kidd rebound to help the team. If the centers weren't doing their jobs, Jason Kidd would start crashing the boards. He had a surprising number of offensive boards and rebounds in general for a 6'4" point guard. He knew how to get the ball to people on the court to make them the most effective. If he knows that he has a big that's not really good at creating his own shot, doesn't have the best handles, range only from 12 feet on in, then guess what? He's going to give you that ball in stride while you're cutting to the basket, or where he's going to get the ball to you where you're comfortable so you can make a high percentage shot. He's not just going to try to force you something out of your comfort zone to try to pad his numbers, which might lead to a turnover or a missed shot. Then he's going to charge you out. No, Jason Kidd didn't do that. Jason Kidd is phenomenal, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, which he is. But Jason Kidd was born in San Francisco and raised in Oakland. And as a kid, Jason Kidd showed an interest and then a proficiency in basketball, often playing against older, kids with basketball. One of them being future Hall of Famer Gary Payton, who also grew up in Oakland. At St. Joseph Notre Dame High School in Alameda, California, under the guidance of Coach Frank Laporte, Jason Kidd led the Pilots to consecutive state championships, averaging 25 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, and 7 steals his senior season. During that year, he also received a host of individual honors, including the Naismith Award as the nation's top high school player, and was named Player of the Year by Parade and USA Today. Kidd was later voted California Player of the Year for the second time, and also a McDonald's All-American. After a highly publicized recruiting process, Kidd shocked many fans and pundits by choosing to attend the nearby University of California, which was in Berkeley, a school that was coming off a 10-18 season and hadn't won a conference title in over 30 years. In his first season playing for the Golden Bears, Kidd averaged 13 points, nearly 8 assists, 5 rebounds, and almost 4 steals, which earned him National Freshman of the Year honors and a spot on the All-Pac-10 team. His 110 steals set an NCAA record for most steals by a freshman and set school records for most steals in a season, while his 220 assists that season was also a school record. Kidd continued to have success as a sophomore, tallying averages of 16.7 points, about 7 rebounds, over 3 steals, and over 9 assists per game, breaking his previous school record for most assists in a season with 272, while also leading the nation in that category. He was also selected a first-team All-American. Kidd was selected as a second pick overall by the Dallas Mavericks, behind Glenn Robinson of Purdue, and just ahead of Grant Hill. In his first year, Jason Kidd averaged almost 12 points, over 5 rebounds, and nearly 8 assists per game. And in one of those games, Jason Kidd tallied what would end up being his career high, I believe it was his rookie year, of 25 assists, and led the NBA in triple-doubles. And let me say this about his triple-doubles. Throughout his career, Jason Kidd had 108 triple-doubles. Okay? While the triple-double is odd and odd today, a lot of these players today are playing in an era that is very, very favorable with pace for triple-doubles, coupled with the fact that, as we all know, many players who shall remain nameless, but there's about 2 of them, maybe 3, who openly pad their numbers to achieve more triple-doubles than what would naturally happen if they were playing and got it and were playing more organically, meaning that if they weren't putting themselves back into the game to get an extra 3 or 4 assists or extra 2 or 3 rebounds, they're doing that. Jason Kidd had 108 career triple-doubles, but his came in an era where scoring was far lower, especially toward the heart of his career. Pace was much, much slower. The Nets, especially when he was with them, the pace of scoring was far, far lower. And you have to wonder what Jason Kidd, what his numbers would look like now, playing in this era, where coaches don't chew you out for stat padding. I mean, to me, Jason Kidd's 108 triple doubles would be more like closer to 200 if he was playing in today's era. And I don't think that's stretching it or being hyperbolic. Jason Kidd, even though when he was playing with the three J's, Jimmy Jackson, Jamal Mashburn, even though they were still they weren't a great team, you know what I'm saying, and there was some friction there, rumored behind, maybe a woman or, a romance. I don't know. But it is worth noting that before Jason Kidd joined the Dallas Mavericks, they were not only the worst team in the NBA, but they were horrifically awful. If I'm not mistaken, the 2 years before he got there, combined, they only won 20 games. I'm not talking about one season. I mean combined. I think one year they went, I take that back. I think they won like 22 games. I think one year they won, 11-71 and was flirting with the all-time record for fewest wins in the season, which was 9. And I think the other year they went like 12-70 or something like that. I don't know. I know they were horrid when Jason Kidd got there. I think they finished 36-46. Not great, but that's a marked improvement over how they were before he arrived. So after the 95-96 season, Jason Kidd was traded to the Phoenix Suns. This is the rebuild that happened after Charles Barkley was traded from Phoenix to Houston. So he's traded to the Phoenix Suns with Tony Dumas and Lauren Meyer for Michael Finley, A.C. Green, and Sam Cassell during the 96-97 season. In his first full season with the Suns in 97-98, the team's win total improved by 16 games. The year before that, I remember that year, the Suns were 41-41, so that means they were 57-25. The Suns, who finished the season with 57-25 record, have been recognized for their fast-paced style of play, with Kidd frequently leading a small lineup of 4 guards: Kidd, Kevin Johnson, Rex Chapman, and sometimes Steve Nash, being on the floor together with Antonio McDyess, who played at center. In the 99 season, Jason Kidd averaged almost 11 assists per game to dethrone Washington's Rod Strickland as the league's assist leader. He also led the NBA with 7 triple-doubles. The rest of the league had just 11 altogether, and was second in the NBA with 41 minutes per game behind Iverson's 41.5 minutes per game. Kidd averaged career highs in points, field goal percentage, which was at 44%, rebounds 6.8, best among NBA guards, and steals 2.3 steals per game, which was 4th in the NBA. Jason Kidd on defense was very good. Not Gary Payton lockdown great, but he was very good on defense, and he was known for his proficiency for getting steals. Like I said before, in that era, if you had to be a great player, if you wanted to be recognized as a great player, you had to at least show effort on the defensive end. If you didn't show that on the defensive end, then, they would talk about it. You know what I'm saying? That, I don't know, like I said, over time, that has lost its value. It's all about offense. You know what I'm saying? To me, defense is the heart. But anyway, before the start of the 1999-2000 seasons, the Suns acquired Penny Hardaway. And the hope was that the backcourt of Jason Kidd and Penny Hardaway would be a potential championship backcourt. But unfortunately, Jason Kidd broke his ankle during the regular season, and also Penny Hardaway, by this time, injuries had robbed him of his quickness and explosiveness, and for the rest of his short career, he would be a role player. You know what I'm saying? So, and Jason Kidd, it just didn't work. After the 2000-2001 season, Jason Kidd was traded to the then New Jersey Nets, in essence, for Stephon Marbury. Now, this is what shocked people at the time, because in the 2000-2001 season, the Nets had only won 25 games. So, the fact that they went from 25 or 26 wins to 52 under Jason Kidd and had an improbable run to the NBA Finals was shocking. But that's what, really secured Jason Kidd's legacy as a guy that would instantly improve the franchise that he plays under. You know what I'm saying? Under Jason Kidd's guidance, the young Nets team prospered through the playoffs, won the Eastern Conference title, and advanced to the franchise's first ever appearance in an NBA Finals. Along the way, they had some memorable moments, including a double overtime victory against the Indiana Pacers and a decisive Game 5. With Jason Kidd scoring 20 of his playoff best 31 points in the fourth quarter and in the overtimes of that particular game. Later on, after defeating the Charlotte Hornets 4-1 in the second round, the Nets then faced the Boston Celtics in the conference finals. This was not the Big Three Celtics, but this is when they had a little bit of a run with Paul Pierce, Antoine Walker. I think Joe Johnson might have been a rookie then. I can't remember the people who else was on that team, but in that series, the Kid and the Nets experienced the biggest fourth-quarter collapse in playoffs history when the Celtics came back from a 21-point deficit to win the pivotal Game 3, taking a 2-1 series lead. I remember that because that was, once again, one of those Charles Barkley, I guarantee that this game is over, and, the Celtics came back from a 21-point deficit, and I remember Paul Pierce calling out Charles Barkley in the post-game interview. The Nets did, however, still won 3 consecutive games, and Jason Kidd averaged a triple-double for the entire series. Unfortunately, the Nets were eliminated in the NBA Finals by the Lakers 4-0. And I mentioned this on the podcast. Well, I think might have been on LB's channel. Like, the Lakers were really just playing with the Nets. Like, they weren't blowing them out, but it was like they were playing cards, on the bench, and like, oh, let's get serious, guys. They getting back in the game type shit. You know what I'm saying? They went to the finals again the next year, but lost 4-2 to the San Antonio Spurs. And this was the heart of Jason Kidd's career, where he was pretty much averaging maybe, 16 to 17 points, maybe about 7 rebounds, 8.5 to 9 assists. This is when Jason Kidd was at his absolute best. Later on, when it was determined that maybe as the league was making changes, and the better teams were not the half-court defensive teams, but scoring was going up, that's when they made that move to get Vince Carter. And they were still a good team, but they were starting to fall behind the radar or below the radar as a championship level team, as you saw the emergence of the Detroit Pistons. The Pacers had a little run for a little while in the mid 2000s. Of course, the big three of Boston Celtics and the emergence of LeBron James and the Cavaliers. That's when you saw later on in that decade that team start to falter, especially as Vince Carter had injuries and Jason Kidd finally began to slightly decline over time with age. All right. In 2008, he returned to the Dallas Mavericks, and eventually Jason Kidd was still a great player, but his presence was more, as he got older, more leadership, more veteran presence, more of a guidance to younger players at this stage of his career. I think he was in his mid-30s at this time, but he still had a lot of game left. And it was in 2010, 2011 that Jason Kidd finally achieved the goal that every NBA player wants, that is winning a championship with the Dallas Mavericks. And Jason Kidd he was very effective, and he came up big in many critical junctures for the Dallas Mavericks during that 2011 playoff run and in those finals. As a matter of fact, I think I recall him, actually posting up LeBron James a couple times in that series, which is, whatever. I'm not gonna stay on that one too long. I don't want too many thumbs down from the LeBron lovers. So, Jason Kidd eventually went to the New York Knicks by the 2012-13 season, and he was on the last New York Knicks team that was actually good, the 2012-13 New York Knicks that won 54 games. But the problem with that team in hindsight was that, they had a lot of guys with heart and experience, but unfortunately their bodies began to break down. Jason Kidd, Rasheed Wallace, who eventually retired for good because of foot issues. Kurt Thomas was a tremendous player, man, but by that time I think he was closing in on 40 or late 30s or something like that. But the end of the line was closed for Jason Kidd at this time, and Jason Kidd retired on June 3rd, 2013, after 19 seasons in the NBA. And his announcement came just 2 days after his co-95 Rookie of the Year award winner Grant Hill also retired. Less than 2 weeks later, Jason Kidd was named the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, replacing interim coach P.J. Carlesimo. Later on that year, the Nets retired Jason Kidd's jersey, and Jason Kidd had some, some mixed success with the Brooklyn Nets. They didn't make the playoffs in 2014, but Jason Kidd is more vilified, or criticized, for his coaching job with the Milwaukee Bucks. You can still credit him, however, with having developed Giannis Antetokounmpo, but Jason Kidd was criticized for, his antiquated coaching style. Their offense was sort of antiquated, not being effective as it might have been effective 15 years earlier, but the NBA was changing. It was more of a fast-paced, analytics-orientated league, predicated more on shooting, and Jason Kidd was sort of still stuck in the 90s or his era of playing and plays, and it just wasn't effective. But, Jason Kidd still should be credited with as being critical in developing and having confidence in a guy like Giannis, and you see what Giannis is now. So, at this particular point, Jason Kidd, I believe, is an assistant coach with the Los Angeles Lakers, and some people feel that down the road he may eventually become the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. When Jason Kidd retired, he was second all-time in NBA history in steals and assists behind John Stockton. He led the NBA in assists 5 times. His 108 career triple-doubles are 4th all-time behind only Oscar Robertson, Russell Westbrook, and Magic Johnson. He finished his career with averages of 12.6 points, 8.7 assists, 6.3 rebounds, and 1.9 steals in 1,391 regular season games. He is considered by many to be one of the greatest rebounding guards of all times. And, like I said, while his shooting was left to be desired, he did improve upon that somewhat as he got older. And he became a dependable three-point shooter who shot 34.9% from three for his career. And he actually had some seasons where he shot it at a pretty high clip. For instance, if you go through his career, in 1999, he shot 37% from three. In 2005, he shot 36% from three. Although he only played in 29 games in 2008 with Dallas, he shot 46% from three. In 2009, he shot 41% from three. And in 2010, he shot 43% from three. So toward the end of his career, he became a very good knockdown three-point shooter when open. As far as his overall awards are concerned, he was a very decorated player. He won Olympic gold in Sydney in 2000 and in Beijing in 2008. He had over 17,000 career points, almost 9,000 career rebounds, and over 12,000 career assists. As I said before, he was an NBA champion in 2011, 10-time NBA All-Star, 5-time All-NBA first team, 2003 All-NBA second team, 4 times he was on the NBA All-Defensive first team, 5 times on the NBA All-Defensive second team, co-rookie of the year with Grant Hill in 1995. He was on the 1995 All-Rookie first team. He led the NBA in assists 5 times. Twice he won the NBA Sportsmanship Award. He was the USA Basketball Male Athlete of the Year in 2007. His number 5, like I said, was retired by the Brooklyn Nets. And his number 5 is retired by the California Golden Bears. Twice he was Mr. Basketball, California Mr. Basketball in high school. He is, without a doubt, one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA. Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame Hall of Famer, Jason Kidd.